IMHO 101 Jams is where we are. Charlottesville, broadcasting worldwide. You got Sir Charles,
Miss Max,
Razor,
and as promised, we're back at it, and we have another great guest for another great conversation. Our sister been here before, no stranger at all, not only to the community, but I'm happy to say to the world. The mayor of the city of Charlottesville, Miss Nikuyah Walker. Nikuyah, can you hear us loud and clear?
I can. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Let's start by saying thank you for your position, your due diligence, and the reason I say it like that, because of course this is a show that we try to lay out all the info and then let our listeners say, I want to support that event, want to support that person. But the reason that I introduced you in that manner is because if people agree with you or not, you said you were going to be transparent. That's probably the word that you said the most.
I did.
And you have stuck to that campaign promise.
Yes.
So in a political world, there's a lot to be said about that. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us today. So tell us, give us sort of that synopsis of saying, okay, last time I was here with you guys, had a lot of great ideas. So where do you think we are now as far as what was expected, what wasn't expected, just the mayorship position itself, some of the stresses, the good, the bad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not having fun yet, but it's definitely worth it. And that's what I, say often. It's a lot of work, which I don't mind working. I work all the time. And I mean, right now, 7 days a week. I'm sleeping maybe, 4 or 5 hours a night, if that. But what's important is that I'm definitely changing the tones in the rooms that I'm in, right?
Good.
And that's important for the community. I think where we were headed as a community, the, very white, very elite Charlottesville, I think that people are waking up, they're paying attention, and that we can change the course of that. So I can still see us here, able to be here in 20 years, where that was kind of, definitely a little shaky, even during, the campaign years, with some of the decisions that are being made.
Yeah. And I have to ask you, with, campaigning during August 12th, 2017, and being mayor August 12th of 2018, give us the recap of how you feel that went, and as far as the city response, is that what you expected, or are you happy with that response? So
I think I may be happier in 2019. One of the major issues is that we don't have a city manager that I can trust. Right? And so I think once you get somebody you can trust, the communication is flowing better. I had information coming to me from the federal level, a very good conversation with the Secretary of Brian Moran that I wasn't even getting from, the interim city manager and staff in Charlottesville.
I remember you went on CNN, a lot of people were blown away. Yeah. When you made that comment, well, you were like, well, I'm the mayor, but, but there's conversations going on.
They definitely, there are people, the way the city has been functioning, they definitely think they can do what they want.
So can you legit do something about that? I'm the mayor. You're required to tell me.
I mean,
this is not an option.
No, you really got to figure out where you want to spend your time, right? There's definitely stuff. I mean, I said this publicly. I signed a paper for the former city manager Maurice Jones that I wouldn't have signed, and it talked about being held criminally liable if you divulged information that you received from the setting. So that information, somebody else would have needed to know that, because I don't know if that how I feel. I'm still struggling with how I feel about what people need to know and how people, need to be able to take care of themselves. I think with a more efficient government, you think that the government have your best interest. I'm not too sold on that yet, even though I'm here. So that's still a major struggle. So I think once we hire a city manager that is, trustworthy and aligned with, we've had, since I've been there, 2 great hires, the police chief and the city attorney. We have a new city attorney and I think both of those, if we keep hiring people of that caliber, I think that we we might be headed in a different direction.
Where are we in that process? We're continuously interviewing people for the position.
Oh, no. We are still trying to hire a search firm.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I wasn't on board with this strong mayor conversation. I've been staying in the background, and people are having it because they think that if I decided that I was on board with it, that it's a possibility it could be, pushed through with a referendum. But at first I'm like, no, this is not, my ultimate goal, and I want a strong city manager here and be able to focus on some other stuff. But having to make decisions with all these people involved,
right.
It's a little.
So let me ask you about the image.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, the image of city council and how you want that projected. To be able to sort of decipher it, to explain it. I say that because a lot of times I hear, and I want to know how you feel when you hear these things about. Oh, did you see that city council meeting? That's an outrage. Or I've been in in county meetings before, and I've literally had people there say, "Listen, y'all are not going to turn this into a city council meeting." Things like so. Like there's sort of an image that may not be fair.
They just had a disaster, they don't know how to fix it. Right? They need some help. So they need to ask some questions.
Right. So I want your perspective of are we seeing change in progress, or are we still seeing a lot of discombobulation?
Oh, it's definitely a little messy right now, but I think, what I say, look how long it was calm and peaceful and everything appeared to be going well, and look what those people were doing to individuals, the decisions that they were making and how it was affecting people's lives. So you want everybody in a meeting, suit and tie, polished, quiet, not yelling, but making decisions that are turn people's lives into disasters, push people out of the city. So at least you hear this chaos, at least you see it. It is
you
my
get a fair
hope
representation of what the city is composed of, the people.
And I hope that people eventually feel like they don't need to come out and yell and scream because they're being heard in other ways. I haven't been willing to say, don't come and yell and scream, because I didn't tell people to start yelling and screaming. And until they feel like there's a better balance, I think that we'll have to deal with this. Then there are definitely people who come in and, they disrupt, and they're not affected by any of the policies that we are talking about in the first place. So that's a little questionable, but other than that, I think people have a right to express how they're feeling.
Mayor Walker, I want to change gears here a little bit.
Okay.
The first time that I saw you on TV, I can definitely tell you, as an African American man, I was as proud of you as I heard my parents talk about Martin Luther King back in the day. Now, I'm not from this area, so you didn't steal my jump rope when we was a kid. You didn't, you didn't date me when we were small. None of that. Yeah. But when I saw you sitting down with those group of ladies on The View and things like that, the pride that I had inside for you as well as myself transcended anything that I had felt in years. So I definitely just want to tell you, thank you for being the sounding board. Thank you for being the whipping puppy that they're trying to make you be. Thank you for being unapologetically a strong black woman. Just thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And I
appreciate that.
I certainly second that. Tanisha was on the show just a few weeks ago, and I explained to her that I don't know until recently that I realized what people like you and people like her do for the black female psyche. We need to see black women in positions of power that will stand for what they stand for, that will say no when, everybody else is screaming something different at them. So that, it lets us know what we can accomplish, what we can be, it's okay to stand on what you stand on and tell everybody else to, go kick rocks. But in that position, you also get labeled, here we are with labels, as the angry black woman, right? And so you have been, I'm sure you've heard this before, and I'm just wanted to know if you could maybe just elaborate on how you deal with having to deal with that type of label.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, anger is an emotion that every human being has a right to express. If there is something that that emotion comes up for me, then it's expressed. I'm not usually angry, though. I'm usually firm and assertive, and so that's taken as aggressiveness and anger. If I was passive, sitting in a corner, allowing people to do whatever they want and say whatever they wanted, then they would be fine with it. So that's the issue, and that's never been a position that I've been able to be in, and I don't plan on. I can go in a room and know absolutely nothing. I'm still going to ask all the questions. I'm still going to be front and center, and I'm still going to be firm in my position, and I'm going to hold things up until I can get the right information to make the best decision. And that's what people are struggling with me, and calling them out, having conversations. The city manager that they wanted to bring here, he wasn't the right fit. You're talking about a person with a military background only, who had been in Alaska, who highlight on his resume was being a turnover specialist. Right? That's not what we needed. And we need someone to come in and have, a business mindset along with, city manager experience, be able to relate to people, be able to understand the divisions that we have in Charlottesville, the racial tensions, and be able to step front and center and deal with those. We don't need someone who can just come in and point out in a few departments what's wrong and what's not. And we don't need someone who can come in, with that iron fist and make those kind of decisions and, leave everybody else in the background. And so I just didn't feel comfortable about that. And that was one of the big things that made, the news that, I brought that information publicly. With that's a decision that's usually held behind closed doors. Until I got here, no one wanted to question the former city manager about things that weren't going right for everybody in Charlottesville. Maurice Jones was handling very well the upper middle class Charlottesville community. He wasn't doing a lot for everybody in Charlottesville. So if I'm asking you questions about what does a second chance city truly look like, affordable housing, if I'm just asking you questions about information that you have that you're supposed to share with me, and the way you have set the city up, you feel like council is, something you have to pay attention to every other week during council meetings, and the other time you can ignore, you can't stay. So I'm an honest person, so I'm sitting across from him. It was never a doubt saying, so we keep having these interactions. I mean, simple stuff like there's an employee who is sick, trying to keep her kid alive. We don't have a sick bank. And because it's not affecting you are dismissive about how quickly can we get a sick bank policy, in place so that this mother can do what she needs to do at this point, take care of her body, take care of her unborn child, versus, being worried about the issues financial insecurity brings up. So though I'm looking at the whole picture all the time and trying to make the best decision out of information. And I mean, a lot of the behavior that happens at City Hall is borderline corrupt, if not corrupt. It's scandalous.
So Nikuyah, thank you for that. And we're going to take a very quick break, and we just want to come right back to give you the opportunity to make sure that people know any of the issues that are on the table as far as meetings and that they should, and that you are encouraging them to be. I know you want them at all public hearings, but anything in particular for you to plug for them to know, before you leave, that's what we do.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are speaking with Charlottesville Mayor Nikuyah Walker, and stay tuned. We're going to come right back after this.
With Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show 101 Jams. You have Charles,
Miss Max,
Razor,
and we are speaking with the Mayor Nikuyah Walker. And Mayor Walker, thanks for joining us, and thanks for all the information. As always, like I said, continue transparency. But before you leave, though, we definitely want to make sure that you have the opportunity to plug any pertinent upcoming meetings or issues that, if the person doesn't read the newspaper daily or look these things up daily, they just may not know about, but things that, that are some pressing issues important to you for the city.
I think I'll use this time to just talk about the budget. We had last year $179 million budget. We get millions of dollars worth of grants sometimes monthly. And that's all supposed to go to people who have the least, not the 179 millions, but these millions of dollars worth of grants that come through. And a big percentage of that 179 million goes to programming, police department, human services, foster care, all of these services. And the only way that you change where the money flows is if the community is requesting that the money flows somewhere else. So the budget cycle for next fiscal year has already started. And we'll pass that budget in the spring. And so I just want people to get plugged into make sure the meetings are posted. Go to the city website. Our communications director is actually doing a really good job, communicating out what meetings and stuff are happening. And, follow the money. You have a right. It's your money. Right. Follow it. Tell us where you think it needs to go. Stop letting us handle it. And so that's what I'll leave. But there, almost any area that you can think of, from schools to social services, anything. That money goes somewhere, and right now there are few people deciding what the budget looks like and where that money should go.
Now, I have to ask you directly, how does that affect the housing? Because I was glad to hear you mention at one point when you talked about the developers that come in, how there's some kickback or like there's something earmarked for affordable housing when these luxury hotels and apartments are popping up.
But it's not very much. That's a policy change that needs to happen. It's insufficient. What they have, and I don't remember the exact number right now, but Jordy Yeager did a great story on the number of housing units that have been built in, I think the past 5 years or a decade or so, and it was very, compared to the amount that had been, again, but right now, something else that I'll leave with, the first meeting I walked into, Charlottesville has been building on the backs of people forever, and there has to be a give back, not you owe it, right? So $50 million, I walked into the first meeting and I said we can float a $50 million bond, right? We can do it. When you're talking about affordable housing and development and waiting for someone to come in and be charitable, which is probably not going to happen, the city needs to make sure that we're making sure CRHA can start the redevelopment process, and that we help fund them because they don't have the resources, to do it. And what has been happening in the past is just, let's wait till CRHA can do it on their own. We know that's not going to happen, which is why redevelopment hasn't happened. But we have enough money in the city, and we have been taking away from people who have the least, and so we need to make sure that we give back. And the other quick thing that I'll say with that is everyone's promoting this mixed use, mixed income. So we need to live in Friendship Court. You need to live amongst other people. And they even have, families now saying, I do need other people to make my neighborhood safer. They're not trying to, create mixed use, mixed income places on Rugby, right? Yes, on Park Street, in those condo high rises. They're only trying to get to sell you on the mixed use, mixed income because you are now living on the last bit of prime real estate left in the city. So just make sure that we don't fall into the cycles of telling their own stories, and giving them our spaces, right? Back as the only way that they'll build. Right. So I just want people to make sure that they are paying attention and that they, that they get organized individually, collectively, just get their minds wrapped around. If you want to change the course that the city is going, you have to be involved.
Got you. Thank you, Mayor Walker. As always, keep up the fervent work, and you always have a home here to come to.
Thank you.
In the stage here. So and let us know. And anytime you have an event in the community, please share it, and we will pass it on as well.
I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
All right, stay tuned.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.